Hello and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. We are back with 29 Days of Magic for 2022. I'm your host, Laura Mignot, host of the Reset Podcast. I am so delighted to have Latoya V Smith, who is the owner and CEO of 3S Tech and Talent. And we're going to dive right in and hear her incredible story. Hello, Latoya, how are you?
I am fine. And yourself? It's nice and cold here in Ohio. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's nice and cold here in New York City, so don't feel bad. It's all good. Winter has sprung. So the way the podcast works is really simple and easy. I always ask the same first question to everyone, and I'm always delighted by the answers. So, Latoya, what was your first job?
I was a summer counselor for the Police Athletic League in Howard Houses, Brooklyn, New York.
Wow. And I'm sure you learned a lot.
I was 13, so there was lots to learn.
13, isn't that kind of illegal?
It's what they did was they had me marked as a junior counselor because of my experience with cousins and at my church with having a lot more responsibility with younger people. They were like, we're just going to put you over here. So they put me with the youngest kids. And I did that for 3 years. So from 13 to 16, every summer, and then throughout the school year, after school job, I was a counselor for the Police Athletic League. I was under a senior counselor until I was 16.
Wow. All right. So you've been working a long, long, long time.
Yes.
So I feel like there's been quite a journey to get to having this conversation with me here today. So I'd love to hear your story.
Okay. Well, obviously, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in the Howard Houses Project. We left there when I was about 16 years old. And unfortunately, it's the typical experience. I had a single mom who had different marriages, but for the most part, I consider myself raised by a single mom. I spent most of my time with the senior citizens in my community, and many don't have that anymore, but my friends were the senior citizens and I went with them to their jobs. My grandmother worked for the VA hospital. So everyone who worked there in the kitchens and hospitality and house cleaning were the people that I spent the most time with until I was about 6 years old and ready to go into kindergarten, actually to first grade. And those experiences and those people kind of really helped me to navigate my life into adulthood. I always had feedback. I always had someone to give me advice. When I started school, I gravitated to my teachers. Why? Because I was used to having real adult, type conversations with people. Made me socially awkward, but that was okay because I had my friends after school. I was a bit of an egghead, but I did have slight dyslexia. So when you pair some sort of learning or reading disability with being socially awkward, the first thing that the public school wanted to do was to put me in special education. That lasted all of 2 weeks because my mother Rose Kane, and she had a nice chewing out with the school principal. And by 2 weeks later, I was in my regular classes and I was actually above average. I had found my own coping mechanisms. I didn't know it at the time.
You and I are so similar.
It was, I didn't know I look at words differently. I was writing my letters completely backwards, but I was also placing in the school and district spelling bees between.
Oh my gosh, we are the same person.
I enjoyed art. I was terrible at math and science, but I was usually the favorite in the class because I raised my hand to ask questions. I wanted an explanation, explain to me how to do better. I was the strange child. I didn't like the summer. I love September because I was going back to school. That was my safe haven. That's where I felt I was blossoming, and where I grew up, school was, it saved me. My teachers took an interest in me. I was in the same school from kindergarten to the 8th grade. Because they decided to make it a prep school. So when I left, my teachers cried because they saw me from pretty much a baby until, a young woman leaving after 8 years. I throughout my academic career, I've enjoyed the learning process. That translated into me developing training programs for the seniors at my church for Microsoft Office. Remember Minecraft? Not Minecraft, Minesweep, and helping them learn to use email for the first time back in the days of Netscape and AOL. And when I, graduated from high school, I said, I want to figure out how to do this. I joined the military, US Coast Guard, as a reservist, because I knew it's better to join part-time than to sign a contract when you're not exactly sure.
Yes.
But after a year, I loved it. My father is retired Air Force, my brother's retired Navy, and my husband is former Navy crypto tech. So lots of military in the family. I joined, and instantly I went into that training mode, helping other people better understand their tasks, especially related to the new systems. We went from DOS to Windows, so people needed a lot of help there. And that brought me to becoming a military instructor in the Coast Guard as a Marine Science Technician. I wanted to stay in. Unfortunately, I was in New York for 9/11. So I was there at Ground Zero. I was part of the crew helping to evacuate people by ferry shuttle from Manhattan Island. I had my breakdown. It was traumatic. But after that, they gave me my pick of units. And so I decided I wanted to become an instructor. After 9/11, they started resizing the Coast Guard, and lots of people were discharged for medical reasons. So I am a service disabled veteran. 60%, which means a lot of what I'm doing now is, again, it's not for payment or compensation, because that's taken care of. I want to do more good in the world. So lots of contracts and hiring and quitting. 15 years later, we started 3S Technologies, LLC. It's after the experience at NASA, when I decided I am not going to find a company that trusts in their people, that builds up their employees, that believes in their mission and their vision. So I need to do it myself.
Exactly.
And started that with my husband. And then I realized I don't want to be like these other contract companies. I don't want to just chase the money. I want to invest in people and help really change their outcomes and give them a reason, help to promote those who others are, just disregarding. And so over the last 2 years, that is what 3S Tech and Talent has become. And it's fulfilling. I love my team. We have team members on the talent side from 8 different countries. I work with over 25 different consultants, and I am looking to do more, looking to expand and show people what's possible when you put the right values first. And that's me.
Awesome. And it's really, I really do have to turn this into a documentary, because there are so many Black women who are dyslexic who end up becoming amazing entrepreneurs. But for a parent or a teacher stepping in when they're in school to be like, do not put them out other places. Yeah. How the different their path would be. Mm-hmm. And it's such, a remarkable story, because similarly, I'm dyslexic, and it showed up in very bizarre ways, because I had similar coping mechanisms whereby I could write down every single word I heard, but ask me to speak and I'd be a stuttering mess. And I couldn't to this day, I can't really tell time on a hand watch.
Hey, I'm with you. Fitbit all the way.
It's there's a reason. One of the reasons I wear an Apple Watch every day. It's digital watch. But my overcompensating for that was awesome at spelling bees. Was really good at math and science until right around calculus. But anything that required memory, I had super great memory. But I would always make, to this day, the last sentence of most of my emails ends up being the first once I read it over. It goes backwards. But yeah, it enabled me to have a different understanding and sensibility of people. And I think it's similar with you. You're I just want to fix this problem. This is ridiculous. I will fix this problem. Mm-hmm. And that problem solving ability that naturally comes when you're dyslexic is so fascinating and needs to be told over and over and over again, So little girls, especially little Black girls, especially hear it and know that like you're just awesome and you will find your way. And look at all these amazing women you can look to as role models.
I'm with you 100%. I have nieces, I have four boys, but I have four nieces, and I think they are definitely, I don't have to sit there and say, ooh, look at me, look at what Auntie is doing. But I think I'm hoping that I am the beacon that lets them see, regardless of, what shortcomings you think you have so much potential, and don't let those setbacks define you. If anything, turn them into your superpower. Um,
Exactly.
I because I learned to break things down, my default is to compartmentalize. So when people say, Latoya, how are you doing all of this? I'm like, I don't look at everything that I'm doing at once. I only look at it section by section. And with each section, it gets my undivided attention. And then I move on to the next. Every team member, every intern is getting, that personal attention and, documenting and quality assurance, quality controls and processes and buddy systems and all of the things that you would see in, Fortune 500. I'm doing it, compartment by compartment, and we're doing it well. And I want to really help others who are startups and entrepreneurs or just trying to get out of their situations to realize for 3S, for the three S's, standards plus strategy equals success. And that is not a slogan. That's not a model. That is our lifeblood. And every day we're talking about it in one way or another on our teams, because that's the only way we're able to do how we're doing it with the small budget that we have currently. I expect it to grow, but we are doing some amazing things in a fraction of the time that these huge companies are doing it.
Exactly. That's the thing I think that has been my superpower, is the speed at which stuff can come through. Because I'm like,
Mhm.
let's break this in little buckets, like this, and then this.
Yes.
It's just part of it. So, when you think about the work that you've done, what do you think you'd tell 21-year-old Latoya?
That it's going to get better. um, at the time, I trying to think, 21, I was just switching from reserve to active duty military. And I had these aspirations and I had these plans, but I got another culture shock. Yes, I was back in New York City, after being in Jacksonville for 2 years, and I was in the Coast Guard, and I realized I was the only minority. I think I was only one of 5 minority females as a marine science technician in the entire Coast Guard at the time. And I was joining a maritime service, predominantly white males. And I had my wake up call, let's just say that. And I honestly thought about, what, after just 4 years, I'm getting out of here, because it was a lot to deal with. I was also a foreign vessel inspector and a waterfront facility inspector, which means all of those ships that bring in the cars and those big containers and cruise ships. I was the safety boarding officer for safety purposes. I was talking to foreign captains and all male crews, men who hadn't seen a woman in 3 to 6 months.
Oh
It
boy.
was, it was a lot, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to tackle this the way I tackle any other problem. And I started becoming one of the boarding officers that was requested. Hey, my maiden name is Mitchell. Is Mitch available? Yeah, I want her to come with me on this inspection, because I got the job done, but I always set the crew at ease. That was my first focus. Why? Because I'm a female on a ship with almost 100 men. I'm worried to make sure I'm in a safe environment, and they want to keep me safe if they want to leave this port. So my inspections went rather well. I enjoyed my time in the military after that, and I have actually become an advocate for it, because it has changed my life. Dealing with that adversity, figuring out that has helped me to deal with all sorts of forms of adversity afterwards.
And wow, that's there's so much there. um, how are you a Black woman in the Coast Guard? Just tell me, like, girl, come on. Like, how does this
Well,
work?
how did I come up? Well, My dad was, my parents divorced before I was born, but my dad had been in the Air Force since he graduated from high school. So I knew how the military could help with, introducing additional opportunities. My brother got snatched up by a recruiter about 2 years after high school. And I was so impressed that, the recruiter came in this nice car to pick him up, and everyone in the apartment building, people hanging out on a porch monkeys. Oh man, Joe, where are you going? And this recruiter, showed him how he should be treated and how he was appreciated. And I just started seeing the military as an option to really elevate or escalate my success in life as an adult. But I was not interested in carrying a weapon. I was not interested in being required to go to a foreign country. And I was interested in, I grew up in the third grade, I wanted to be an oceanographer. I didn't realize what that meant. So of course I changed my focus, but I still cared about the environment and helping to make sure everyone was safe and animals were protected. Marine science technicians in the Coast Guard, that was the exact rate for what it is I wanted to accomplish with my life. So when people say, well, how did you find the Coast Guard? A lot of research. I advocate for this now. I do professional coaching and professional development planning with many people because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I found the rating that was the exact fit for what I wanted my career to be in the military, which is why I, unlike many people, I enjoyed every aspect of the military after I got over my hurdles, because I was following my passion and the military was helping me to achieve the goals that I had set for myself. And no other branch of the military had that exact match for me. So that is why I chose the Coast Guard. I did nothing involving drug interdiction or immigration or anything else. No, I didn't. I don't, there's so much more to the Coast Guard than what you see on Miami Vice and NCIS and all these other shows. It's, even now I'm introducing it to people who don't even realize the Coast Guard is a department, military, and that I am a veteran and I can go on military bases and I have VA benefits. Just so many people who just don't know, but the Coast Guard is a great option, even if you are from the inner city and can't swim, by the way.
Wow.
I learned to swim in boot camp. I am not a fish. I am not I want to go to the pool now, but I can survive for quite a bit of time in the water by myself if I had to, which everyone should have that confidence, because that is a huge stigma. It is a huge issue, and it is usually brushed off in the African-American community. The fact that the majority of us do not know how to swim and fear the water.
Wow. You're just super awesome, remarkable. Okay.
How are you?
Because just like you're, yeah, I mean and see, honestly, this is why I love doing this, because it's just like to find, and you also worked at NASA.
Yes, for 14 months, I was the manager of learning and development at the NASA Safety Center here in Ohio. And that was a contract role in which I was helping to revamp a course catalog of, they had over 200 courses. And a big part of what we were doing was trying to work to make the content more engaging, revising it, updating it, making it more relevant for the safety and mission assurance cause. So the safety engineers across the NASA agency were the ones that partake of that course curriculum. I loved my experience, but I also hated it because I realized I was yet again working in a situation where corners were being cut and quality assurance, quality control was not the priority. And if I am working in a safety or security role, that is pivotal for me. And the fact that it wasn't the highest priority, I had a serious problem with it. And that's where we get into the, mission and vision and organizations upholding their own standards. I just couldn't tolerate it because I got to meet astronauts, Laura, And I got to go to these bases. I got to go to the Kennedy Space Center and help to, put on a 2.5 day event for the executives, E14 and above across the NASA agency related to safety. I got to see, and I'm not going to tear up here, the Columbia incident, the presentations and the exhibits, and really see everything that should be going into making sure these missions are a success and that they're safe and everyone comes home. And when I see you want to cut corners, I have a huge problem with that. I get to meet those young people who are going to Mars, and my goodness, they look like they're 14 years old. I couldn't face myself if part of my effort was ignored and they don't come home in the end.
Wow, unbelievable! Just so much. Like that's so incredible. So, you've done all this work, and how do you take time for yourself, Latoya? Like, what do you do for your self-care?
I'm a big on hobbies. I do looming and crocheting and baking and painting. I love just creative hobbies. But a lot of my relaxing is the work that we do on the talent side of our business. I am the person who does our digital comic series. Why? Because I just love making stuff, working on making it accessible for the visually impaired and blind. Why? Because most blind kids will never get to experience comics because the big companies, Marvel and DC and Dark Horse, don't focus on making those media types available for young people who are blind or visually impaired. But I get to make that, just because I can. I got to teach someone through Facebook how to loom, and she is completely blind. Her name is Brianna. She lives in Texas, and nail extensions and all, because I don't know how she's doing it, but to spend my time explaining to her how to loom. And now she just has this hobby that she loves, helping someone else, with a recipe. I mean, those might seem like work, but those are my downtimes. Other than that, we live out in Amish country, so we get to do a lot of things outdoors. I'm a big kid. Yes, I'm from Brooklyn and I live in
Amish country. Okay.
And I love it. I never felt right in the city, in New York City. I especially didn't want to live in a metropolitan area after 9/11, after seeing what happened, with parents and kids and not being able to get to their kids for a week. So I was like, I'm never living there, and I don't want my kids to be anywhere that far away from me just for school. But anyway, we have 2.7 acres, and we are laying the bricks for our own driveway. And when it snows, I go out there and I'm like, everybody outside, we're going to go have a snowball fight. Everybody outside, let's go sled across the yard. We have a lot of home projects that we're doing. I want to teach the kids more about growing your own food and composting and conservation. And we can go and explore nature, things that I just never had growing up, that I'm a big kid and I want to go out there and do it. And I only have 3 skirts. So I get dirty and I get down on the floor, and that's my favorite place to be.
This is amazing.
And I'm a Lego fanatic. I buy, and for myself, I do a Lego Master Builder sets.
So again, you are a similar doppelganger.
Okay.
I love Legos. They have been very calming for me during the pandemic.
Yes.
Also, I was a model builder when I was a kid, so I used to build model planes and airplanes and cars and spaceships and such. So the astronaut thing was like, oh my. But I love running into quirky Black women nerds like myself. Again,
there is a kind of like, based on the Hidden Figures movie and those women, there are Lego sets specifically for the figures and women in NASA, if you're interested.
I don't think I've seen that. Mm-hmm. Things Laura will be doing after this call. Uh, so, it's, looking back on what you've been able to do within the past year, what is next?
I really am focusing, not exclusively, but a big push this year is, just developing more meaningful relationships and connections, through professional and talent networks. Uh, I'm sure you've never experienced this, but we have so many people who connect with us on LinkedIn. And sometimes I feel like I pour my heart out and I just get a thumbs up. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want more of that. Really having meaningful professional relationships in my network. That's one. Discovering how to be more impactful as a leader in accessibility and diversity and small business and problem solving. Many people have challenges and they are spending a boatload of time and money on these quote unquote influencers who are more interested in promoting their own service or product than really helping the little guy. Sharing more about my past experiences to help others learn from the lessons I've undertaken. I'm a huge, huge supporter of learning from other people's mistakes. I'm the youngest of three. My sister is 10 years older. My brother is 8 years older. So I got to see them go through their teenage years and their heartbreaks and their friendships and their fights and realize, okay, that's what I am not going to do. I've done the same thing in business with the organizations and the companies I've worked for, either as an employee, as a contractor. These are the things that I have learned. These are the mistakes I made. Let me tell you how I got myself into the situation and out of it. And I'm not going to charge you to share that with you. And then finally, I want to help my small business and our team of creatives to meet business and professional development goals. We are doing a lot, like I said before, in accessibility, and we want to set ourselves as an example. This year, I am looking to get certified for my CESP, certified employment support professional, so that I can join Social Security Administration's Ticket to Work program and hire more people with disabilities and get them involved with technical work, not manual labor. Predominantly when it comes to vocational and rehabilitation training at the state level, most of those jobs have to deal with assembling and cleaning and maintaining tangible items or spaces. And we are really overlooking the aptitude of those with disabilities and that they are capable of doing more. I have team members who are completely blind, vision and hearing impaired, and they are the best team members and their work is unbelievable. I've got people who are fully sighted and fully abled who aren't, I won't say they can't, they aren't putting forth the effort that these ladies do. And I want to be able to do that more and show those with disabilities, you don't just have to work at a fast food restaurant, or you don't have to just, pack soap. You are capable of more. You just have to have the right accommodations and patience. And that's like the biggest thing I want to accomplish in 2022.
Awesome. And this is really important. Can you talk about how, doing the appropriate things for accessibility for your employees ends up being phenomenal for your business? Because I don't think people get this enough.
Oh, definitely. So I met a young lady who was blind, and she was blind as a result of domestic violence, by the way. And she was just crushed, she was actually pregnant when it happened. So now she is a single mother and blind and trying to figure it all out by herself. And she was an interpreter. And it's like all of the opportunities, and she was in school. She's just a few classes away from graduating, just kind of just stopped and everything halted. And that is representative of what I see in the world, where you start to doubt yourself because the world at large doubts what your potential is. And I said, no, you're going to come work with me as an intern. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. Just come work with me. And working with her, and then meeting another lady, young lady, a month later. I didn't even know she was visually impaired and blind when I interviewed her right away. Bringing them on, letting them share their frustrations, explain to me what their struggles have been. I have joined talks with the National Federation of the Blind, their chapter talks, the Visually Impaired Blind Society in Atlanta. And you really start to realize how much the opportunities to do better and to level the playing field are endless. But when I start focusing on what their challenges are in the workflows and the processes and the systems within 3S, I realize it's the same on the outside. It's the same for our clients. It's the same for our potential customers, the kids who we want to read this book that is about helping them. We have to be more inclusive. We have to do everything with intent. And it's just starting at this point, it's become second nature. And it introduces more opportunities for them to learn and for myself. I'm learning Braille, by the way. And I'm like, oh, I'm learning Braille. Why don't other sighted people learn Braille?
Why does everybody have to? Yeah, it just makes sense.
Right. Why aren't people who, fully, hearing people learning ASL? Why aren't we putting products out there like our On Via Feeds game? Why aren't we developing games from day one that are accessible? Why aren't we making that a forethought rather than an afterthought? So working with them, they have opened my eyes, and I'm just like, you are capable of so much. Why aren't more people, looking at those with disabilities for these possibilities and to make things happen? And the fact of the matter is, we are still biased. Even if we don't realize we have an unconscious bias, and we automatically make assumptions about people based on their resumes, the way they present themselves, or how they are labeled either by themselves or society, and what their potential is. And I've made it a point to start asking young people and older, not what do you want to do? What do you want your career to be? What is your purpose going to be? And let's find out how to make that happen. I want to be able to help more of individuals with disabilities have that, because in general, most people are just saying, let me just get you something. Let me just get you a job. They deserve to be fulfilled with their employment choices as well. And if I can set even a small example of how you can make that possible, then I will.
Awesome. I just adore you. And I'm so glad to know that you exist. And don't worry, introductions are coming, because okay. notice how you got to me. So that should tell you all you need to know about how Laura rolls, and helping and connecting folks, because it's my thing. I do it. Last question before we go. Do you have a give and or an ask of the audience?
My give is my experience and subject matter expertise, and that of everyone on my team. No, I'm not asking for projects or, funding. Ask questions, ask for help. There are people who just want to do things because they enjoy doing it. So we have some projects that, yes, we would like to collect revenue for eventually, but people all around the world, and I can say this now because we have team members from around the world, want an opportunity to do the thing that they love, and they will work with you to make your visions and your mission a reality. That's my give. What I am asking for, we have a virtual internship program, and we want to do more by providing opportunities for individuals. I mentioned before, we've had interns as young as 14 go through the program. We've also had interns going through in their 40s and 50s. Even if it's a 2-week session or 4-week, or we decide to extend, giving people that hands-on experience working on an app or a game or a solution, that's their legacy. And they can go out in the world and say, I actually did this. I didn't just do it in school. This is not a school project. This is something that's out there right now that is continuing to evolve because of my contributions. That goes a long way in the virtual world that we are now kind of like embedded in. Giving more of those opportunities, because it gives us more exposure. Every time we introduce interns into our program, they bring an external perspective that helps us towards continuous improvement. So it's a give and a take. And we are looking to bring in more young people every month through the program. That makes us better as a company. It makes our products and services better. And these are paid internships, by the way. Awesome. And it's how we operate. if there are those who were just interested in hiring a company that prides itself on learning and development and professional, experience building through work in order to get their projects completed, please, direct message me, because that's the kind of work we want to do. Helping people learn and develop so that they can have the quality of life that they're looking for. That is what I want 3S. That's what I want my legacy to be. I plan on doing 3S until I can't type anymore.
Oh my God, Latoya, you're amazing. And I'm so thrilled to have you as part of 29 Days of Magic, because this is why I do this now for the third year. I want the everyday, just bomb ass Black woman getting a light shine on her. What you're doing is incredible. And I am beyond blown away. And I will do whatever I can to help amplify what you're doing, because it helps so many people. And your voice and your story are necessary, especially at this moment. So thank you so very much for being on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a pleasant surprise. And if there's anything else I can do to help you with, growing your exposure and your reach, do let me know.
You will be hearing from me. Trust me.
Great.
Thank you again. Thank you so much. And we'll put all the details in the show notes for folks to reach out to you and connect with you, and hopefully make some even more awesome connections for you. So thank you so much. And that is our show.
Yay.